Hi, welcome to the Peripatetic Anthropologist, and my name is Bruce, and I'm an anthropologist. Last time I said I was going to talk about how much it costs to live here, but I've got some plans to do some traveling in the next week or so while my granddaughter is away playing in Denpasar with her parents and her brother, and so I'm going to leave the big how much does it cost to live here until another video, and today I'm going to talk about two questions that I'm often asked. Question number 6 about the Indonesian language. Do I need to learn Indonesian to live here? And number 7, I'm going to talk about the medical facilities. Are there good medical facilities in Bali? So, 6 and 7. So, let's start with language. The national language is Indonesian. In the Indonesian language, it's called Bahasa Indonesia, but it's often referred to as Bahasa locally. I don't really like that because Bahasa just means language, but that's the local usage. So that's the national language. That's what kids are taught in school here. That's what the government uses. They expect their government officials to use this when they travel internationally. That was something that was decided, I think, last year by President Jokowi. And years ago there was a decision made to quit using Western terms, the English language, for buildings, like tourist buildings. That's pretty much gone by the wayside, I think, now. But Indonesians love the national language. It's a relatively new language, and so let's take a look. What's the history about this? Well, Indonesian it's derived from the Malay language, which was a lingua franca in the Indonesian archipelago for centuries, at least. And in 1945, it was adopted as the national language when the Declaration of Independence was declared, 1945, August 17th. But it goes back a little before that. In 1928, at the Second National Youth Congress, this was still during the colonial period, there was a Pemuda Sumpah Pemuda, youth oath or youth pledge, where they said, one motherhood, one nation, one language. And so this is when Indonesian, the Malay language became the Indonesian language and was considered to be adopted as part of the nationalist movement. But it goes back a couple of years before that. In 1926, a journalist and a young nationalist named Muhammad Tabrani made up the term Bahasa Indonesia in a newspaper editorial where he wrote these famous sentences. And this is my translation: the Indonesian nation doesn't exist yet, create it. The Indonesian language doesn't exist yet, create it. And thus the term Bahasa Indonesia came about, and so that's our national language. Now, it's not, as languages go, it's not a difficult language to learn. With some practice, you can become fluent enough to get around in everyday life. There are ways to study it, and I'm going to give some links below here for some online courses in Indonesian. There's also a lot of books here, dictionaries. So in addition to the Indonesian language, national language, there's anywhere from 300 to 800, 900 local languages. Some of them are dying out, but it's common for children to learn two languages growing up. The local tongue and the national language, certainly by the time they get to school. Although I think this is changing. My kids grew up speaking Indonesian as their first language, not Balinese, and not Madurese, where their grandfather was from. So there are a lot of languages, and you find that Indonesians, especially people in the older age groups, are fluent in at least two languages, sometimes three, sometimes four. So you may hear these, particularly if you are in areas that are more traditional, less touristy. Okay, so let's get to the question. Do I need to learn Indonesian? Well, if you live in a tourist bubble, an expat bubble, you're surrounded by other foreigners, and Indonesians or Balinese are the backdrop to your life. No, you don't. You can get by. The local people that work in these areas usually can speak English. If you live in a less touristy area or a non-tourist area, like I do, then you need to learn Indonesian to get by. And really, if you want to interact with people, with Indonesian people, you should learn the language. It gives you a richer experience. You get an idea of more about how people think, what they feel about things. They can be more honest, more expressive, and Indonesians love it if you say even the most simple "Selamat pagi," good morning, or "Terima kasih," thank you, "Sampai jumpa," see you later, see you next time. They love it if you try to learn the language, and they're happy to teach you Indonesian. So, yeah, do you need to learn the local language, Balinese? No, I've been here 30 years. My Balinese is limited to, I can understand some Balinese, but I've just never gotten around to learning much Balinese. So you can get by without that. So, yes, my opinion is you should. If you're going to be here for any length of time, you should learn the local language. Okay, let's get on to question number 7. What about the medical facilities here? And what kind of illnesses can I expect? Well, okay, let's go through a couple of illnesses first. The big one, Bali belly. Oh, my tummy. Right. Very common for people to get here. There's different bacteria in the water, in the food. Bali belly is easily treated. You can get charcoal tablets, you can get anti-diarrhea pills at any local pharmacy. It's uncomfortable, it can set you back a couple of days, but it's not life-threatening. Just one of those things of living in another country, especially a developing country. Malaria. Some people go on and on about malaria. The odds of you getting malaria in Bali are basically nil. I don't know anybody that's ever gotten it. I have gotten malaria, but when I lived in Papua, and it was common in Sumbawa as well. Dengue fever you can get. I've had dengue fever here. Dengue fever, in my opinion, is worse than malaria. Really set me back about 6 months. I was hospitalized for about 3 days. There are three or four types of dengue fever. I had the most serious type, and I'm still here. I thought I was going to die, but I didn't. So you get dengue fever, that's serious. How do you protect yourself against it? Cover up. If you're living here, try to keep open water sources down to a minimum or none, even better. Use spray You can get all sorts of sprays here. I use Off. Works really well for me. Dog bites. Dog bites, cat scratches. It happens. We had a big rabies problem. It's not talked about much, but I'm sure there's still some rabies here. You don't want to get bitten by an animal. And this goes for all those cute little monkey forest photos that people put when they stick a monkey up on their shoulder. Monkeys bite. These monkeys can be really aggressive, and their bites hurt. I've raised monkeys for 30 years. Their bites hurt. You get bitten, you need to go and get it checked right away. Don't put monkeys on your shoulder. Yeah, it's a cute Instagram photo. It's dangerous. Let's see. Cat bites, dog bites, mosquito. Motorcycle accidents. Right. Happens a lot. Wear a helmet. This can be a somewhat controversial topic. People say, oh, well, you know, I don't want to wear a helmet. I'm going to be free and let my hair flow. That's great. And it's my business. If I have an accident and I smash my skull, well, it affects all of us, because maybe when you're in the hospital with emergency treatment getting your smashed skull, I've got a child in there who has some serious illness and who's going to have to wait because you're in there careless enough to travel around without a helmet. Put a helmet on if you drive in Bali. It's the law, for one thing. So follow it. And it doesn't make any difference if Indonesians do it or not. Follow the law. You're here. Okay, that's my helmet rant. Motorcycle accidents, dumping motorcycles, getting scratched up. Yeah, I'm like an Indonesian. I wear long pants when I drive a motorcycle because I have fallen. I've gotten scraped up. It hurts. It can hurt really badly. I wear long pants. I wear shoes. I wear shorts like this, and these rip easily. I went sliding across the pavement one time, and my shirt was tattered. My wife kept it for years as a reminder. So there's that, and just some regular falls and spills. You slip on something, you fall down some stairs, you trip over a pothole in the street or the sidewalk. Okay, so what about getting treated for all these things? Good news is medical facilities in Bali are light years ahead of what they were 30 years ago. There are international class hospitals, and some of the hospitals have doctors and nurses that speak English. Now, there's a lot of argument about the quality of health care. A lot of people say, "Oh, I wouldn't get treated here no matter what." Well, my short story. I had a stroke about 11 years ago. I was medevaced to Singapore, to one of the best hospitals in Singapore. I came home after 3 days. They did the test. Okay, gave me some routine to live by. About a year later, I had another stroke here in Bali. I went to Siloam Hospital, one of the new large hospitals. It's considered international class, and they did the same thing and more than they did in Singapore for a lot less money. Well, I didn't pay for the Singapore trip. For a lot less money, I had an MRI. I saw a specialist. The neurologist followed me around all day, going through the test, held my hand, talked to me, gave me a mental acuity test, and I passed, surprisingly. So, there are complaints about Siloam, not from me. I think Siloam is great. I've never had a bad experience. We go there as one of the places that we go for our annual checkup. There's another place, a local place that we tried this year, a new place called Bali Med. Up in the north, there's also Bali Meds down in the south, and links to hospitals down below as well. There's Sangla. I'm not gonna discuss all of them. Like I said, the links are down below. The quality of care varies, depends on your doctor. The hospitals have a 3-tier pricing system. There's tourist, There's foreign residents like myself with a kitas or a kitap, and there's local prices. That's the way it is. You don't like it, nothing you can do about it. How expensive is it? Way more expensive than it used to be. My wife went in yesterday because she had panas dingin, the chills, fever. She insisted on going to the local doctor. The local doctor visit, along with a bunch of medicine. She got a big bag full of medicine and a shot in her butt. Cost a total of 225,000 rupiah. And for those of you that have to have these in dollars, that's around a little less than $20, just about $20. So doctor's visit and the medicine is about $20. It used to be a lot cheaper. My local GP, I think, charges $5 for a visit. But he's old, he's not really well, so I don't know. I'm going to have to find a new local GP. So anyway, so there are a lot of hospitals. There are clinics, emergency clinics, that you can go to if you're down in the tourist area. Now, most of the good medical facilities are down in Nusa Dua, Denpasar, Kuda. Ubud has a couple of hospitals now. Dental, same thing. There's some really good dental facilities now. Australians come here just to do dental work because it's much cheaper than there. There's a good dentist up here in my area. She is not cheap. I think she's really expensive, but she's very good and very popular, with both locals and foreigners. So, can you be taken care of safely here? Can you survive health-wise? Yes. And so that's all for today. Thanks for viewing. I'll do the usual ending. If you like, subscribe, click like. And next time, I don't know what I'm going to talk about next time. Probably not how much of the cost yet. We'll see. So that's it. Happy travels.